Board of Trustees, regular meeting is now called to order at 4:31 p.m. We welcome everyone here in attendance today and everyone joining us remotely on Zoom. Instructions on making public comment are posted in agenda item number 1, and we'll ask at each agenda item for public comment. At this time, Superintendent Powell will conduct the swearing in of our 2 new trustees, Jenny Olson representing District 5 and Jason Kishinev representing District 3.
If I can have both of our new incoming trustees, please join me at the podium in the front.
Everything's okay, I can assure you. Nothing is wrong. Everything is very good right now, in fact.
All right, Jenny, can you step in? And we will start with incoming trustee Olson. If you can please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jenny Olson,
I, Jenny Olson,
do solemnly swear
that
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Martin, can you get a picture?
But it's Joelle. Okay. Listen, please raise your right hand. I, Jason Kishinev,
I, Jason Kishinev,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
It is officially official. Congratulations to our new trustees. And we will move on to roll call. Catherine, will you please do roll call?
Okay. Trustee Olson.
Here.
Trustee DeLuna.
Here.
Trustee Baker.
Here.
Trustee Rios.
Here.
Trustee Kishinev.
Here.
Student trustee Alejandro Martinez.
Here.
Trustee Iverson.
Here.
And trustee Dodd.
Here.
Thank you.
And we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move to adoption of the agenda. Our trustees, are there any changes to the agenda? I'll move. We're pulling item 7-11 off of the agenda, off the consent calendar. And if there are no other changes, and I do not see any, we will adopt the agenda by consensus. And move on to public comment on closed session items. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any public comment on any closed session items?
No, we have no public comment.
And I haven't received anything in writing either. So at this time, the board will move into closed session covering 4.1 conference with labor negotiators, a public employment item, and a public employee performance evaluation, and return approximately 5:30. It could be maybe a little bit later, maybe 5:45. Don't get mad at me, Catherine. Thank you. Is approved, extending the following appointments to full-time, temporary, at-will, classified administrative assignments. Daniel Vega as acting director of IT from July 1, 2022 to May 31, 2023, or until that position is filled on a regular basis, whichever occurs first. The salary will be based on admin confidential schedule range 17 step E. Mr. Vega will also receive a monthly stipend of 10% of classified salary schedule range 31 step H for retaining network administrator duties. We are in Wendy Nuto as acting controller under the same circumstances. Acting controller salary will be based on admin confidential salary schedule range 19 step B. Wendy will also receive a monthly stipend of 10% of admin confidential salary schedule range 14 step F for retaining senior manager accounting duties. Salary and stipend will be prorated for partial month of service. And we will move on to public comment. This public comment opportunity is governed by the California Brown Act. By definition, this is an opportunity to hear concerns, perspectives, and differing vantage points. The board is not able under the Brown Act to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to review comment to the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing as an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. Each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. Catherine, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. I see one virtual public comment.
Do they have a name?
David Shantz.
Mr. Shantz?
Testing, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you. My voice is a bit hoarse, I might talk a bit fast. My name is Alex Shantz, they, them pronouns. I'm a Napa Valley College alumni and have an associate's degree in humanities and philosophy. I have a bachelor's degree from Sacramento State in philosophy with a concentration in ethics, law, and politics. I've served as Senator of Social Science, Vice President, and President of the Associate Students of Napa Valley College, and student trustee on Napa Valley College's Board of Trustees. I've also been a member of the St. Louis School Board. I'm here to share institutional memory. I first got involved in campus politics shortly after McCarthy's death, a time characterized by upheaval. At your last meeting, Bruce Ketron mentioned that McCarthy's successor was resisted by a campus united front for lacking transparency and undermining shared governance. Ketron forgot to mention Dr. Kraft's same flaws. For example, Dr. Kraft reformatted the agenda, placing every single action item on the consent calendar. Open discussion was virtually impossible. It was after trustee Amy Marston spoke out that the agenda was changed back. For the record, I appreciate the current board chair for hearing from members of the public on every item. I still resent the previous administration and some trustees for treating Amy Martinson so terribly. Immediately after her inauguration, they smeared her as rude, shrill, and a rogue trustee, all because she asked questions, ignited discussion, and promoted a progressive agenda. They hated Amy Martinson so much that they ran a senator's son to defeat her, thereby establishing a Napa Valley political dynasty, a dynasty with a pattern of targeting good progressives like Matt Pope, Amy Martinson, and Mariko Yamada. What personally disturbs me is that they spend time fighting us, Greens and progressives, while we were the ones fighting to stop fascism in America before Trump. I devoted my campus life to fighting the far right by organizing 2 diversity speaker series, supporting immigrant and queer students, and protesting austerity. They could have viewed me as an ally against oppression and exploitation. Instead, neoliberal Democrats treated me like an enemy, which I guess makes sense since their inaction enabled fascism in America. Neoliberal Democrats fight progressive heroes that actually offer policy solutions to these problems, and it's disgusting. The last thing I want to say, since there are new administrators, is that Dr. Kraft's main policy was to privatize the campus via public-private partnerships. This eviscerates the public sector and is bad for students, faculty, and staff. I'd like to encourage the administration to explore public-public partnership solutions instead. Building relationships with school boards and governing bodies is a good step towards this. People I trust seem to like the current college president, so I'm hopeful. We just got to get faculty raises so they're not among the lowest paid in the state. And I'll conclude by praising shared governance, a hallmark of California community colleges. Shared governance is a decision-making process whereby students, faculty, classified staff, and administration collectively shape policy via their respective senates and campus committees in a decentralized and bottom-up way. It's basically council communism. Pretty much every decision the board of trustees make should pass through shared governance in some form. Good evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Catherine, do you have any other public comment?
No, I see no other public comment.
We'll close public comment and move on to the calendar. Any changes to consent?
Move approval.
We have a motion, and do I have a second?
Second, Ines.
Thank you, Trustee Baker, and thank you, Trustee DeLuna, for your first and second. Motion second. I do have one comment on some of the items that I did notice were raising fiscal impact. I think if we can do in the future, having specific numbers in some of the items, and I think we're typically good, but I just noticed a few of the items here. I'm thinking about, I think the Blue Icon Advisors Agreement, actually putting in the dollar amount. I forgot how it's labeled in terms of fiscal impact, but what I did like too, also in that Blue Icon Agreement, is we had a dollar not to exceed this amount too. So I did appreciate that, but just wanted to have that show up instead of maybe having to dig through the document a little bit more. In any case, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Adopt consent unanimously. And we will go to 8.1 Strategic Enrollment Management Update.
Okay. And I believe we have Dean Erickson here with the Strategic Enrollment Management team.
Yes. Good evening, board, Dr. Powell, cabinet, esteemed colleagues, and members of the community. I'm thrilled to be here this evening to update the board and the campus community on the process made so far on a very significant campus-wide project, Strategic Enrollment Management, or SEM. Earlier this year, Dr. Marriott and I were appointed by former Vice Presidents Dr. Sarah Parker and Oscar DeHaro to begin this work in the fall of this year. The college has retained Acro Consulting, a nonprofit professional organization, to provide guidance to the team through the development of the unique Strategic Enrollment SEM plan for Napa Valley College. ACRO stands for the American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers. So we assembled a team through the academic and classified senates to ensure this work engages both classified and faculty constituencies of the campus community, in addition to our administration. We will be incorporating student voices throughout this process. Today, John Kitchelow, professor of English, and I are here to present tonight about where we are today and to share the updates of the work that will be done up over the next 6 months. So, important to note that SEM is an enterprise process. This is addressing the many concerns that we have about moving forward into this new normal, and needing a comprehensive plan that will guide us through this critical process of planning. The first slide highlights several broad definitions of SEM. Strategic enrollment management, or SEM, is a concept and process that enables the fulfillment of institutional mission and students' educational goals. And please note that concept is the way of thinking about our enrollment that is different than we have ever thought before. Enrollment has normally been thought of as transactional, and we really want to move away from transactional so that we really look at student experience, look at the entire life cycle of the student. This process, and the reason we've chosen ACRO, is because they have practiced successfully over the past 30 years, providing guidance on the design and work of a strategic enrollment management plan. To address the enrollment challenges that we are grappling with as a college, our focus is on our enrollment future and doing what we can to manage it strategically. The emphasis is on process, coordination, and the academic context that are signals that is not just a tool for managing, say, marketing or viewing student success as a one-off. It is really an enterprise effort that will be the entire campus community that will be involved in this process. Important to note that there are the SEM plan that we will be developing and delivering to our president and this board will have a set of goals, which will be 6 to 8 broad statements that will frame the data-informed issues to drive change in our enrollment and student success and allow us to meet the vision and strategic plan of the college. An example of a possible goal. We're good. Thank you. We will grow enrollment by X% each year through 2027. Important to note, and an aside from the notes here, we will be looking at this through the lens of our enrollment segments. So the different parts of our campus community in terms of our student populations and designing those goals. So those 6 to 8 broad statements around those different segments, such as adults 25 and older, or online students, or non-credit students. So these are the enrollment segments, so just a few to give you an idea. We actually have 10 segments that we're looking at currently. Then the team will develop a set of 3 or 4 focused but still relatively broad statements that will be strategies. And the goal of these strategies will be, or the purpose of these strategies really will be to support the goals. So the 6 to 8 broad statements that are our goals, and then the strategies that we will use to achieve those goals. Last but not least, that third component of the SEM plan will be the tactics and the action plans. Some areas already have action plans, but we will really develop these action plans through this SEM process and we'll formalize them. And we may even discover we need new action plans, like International Student Action Plan, for example, just to name one that's already emerged as an area that we need to develop a new action plan. So the team will develop 3 to 4 specific statements for each strategy with supporting steps, timelines, personnel, and metrics to operationalize that strategy. Essentially, the roadmap for how to achieve each strategy and support the goals. Example of this would be, we will design and implement academic and engagement support programs for NVC, such as Early Alert. That's an example. We are already doing early alerts. So that was just an example, but important to note what it will essentially look like. Slide 2, please. Thank you. So I shared with you what the plan will look like, but we're going to do this actually through the stages of the development of the plan. And the stage breakdown includes 4 important distinct sections. One being education and data, which is where we've explored and we've all gone through this core SEM core concepts workshop, where we've looked at a general external scan, where we're looking at internal enrollment data collection, and then planning our team staffing. So we have a team that has been developed. We've continued to encourage all those who are interested to participate. We've actually had a growing team because there really is a lot of interest. This is where a lot of the provisional planning has happened. It's been primarily over this fall term. We have also transitioned in this fall term to the goal setting process, which is where we're starting to now begin to draft, and we started even in our training to kind of sketch out some draft plan goals. So this is where we will have the overall target of 5 years. We will have focused goals for recruitment and student success, and we will use key enrollment indicators to measure our success. And I think for me personally, as the Dean of Enrollment, this is the most exciting part because we've never had a target that I can say, we met it, or no, we're not quite there yet, guys. We need to do some different tactics to get there. We're great at tactics, we're great at even strategizing things, but having one document where it will all be there for us to, as a group, as an institution, to look at, to measure ourselves, to measure our work, and to have that acknowledged as an entire institution is very exciting for me. So that's part of goal setting, and I think part of the value of this particular segment. But and then also there's the strategy development, which is further going deeper into the goals, to identifying, linking to existing initiatives, leading the innovative practices, the realignment of resources, the identifying of resource gaps. This is actually where we're going to see a lot of alignment with our current plans. We have a lot of incredible plans on this campus, and this is a plan that will integrate seamlessly with all of those plans, because those tactics that are showing up in all of our other plans are going to show up in the tactics of our strategic enrollment plan. So it's going to be completely seamlessly integrated. The final stage is the implementation and planning. So this team this year will be developing the plan, and then that will evolve into a team that will be responsible for implementing the plan, which will take a bit of time. It's important to note that in the goal setting and the strategy development, that there's really substantive change that's happening in that during that time. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to my esteemed colleague, John. You're on. I see you there.
I made it. I'm here. Thank you so much, Jessica. I hope everybody can hear me okay.
We can.
Thank you so much. So yeah, first of all, I want to thank, obviously Dr. Powell for inviting us and, engaging in this work and inviting us to come and speak about it to the Board of Trustees. And then thank you to the board as well for, inviting us here and having us talk about this plan and this task force work that we're doing and, long term. I also want, to thank Jessica in particular for being here in person, to kind of be our ambassador for the work. Unfortunately, I plan to be there tonight, and unfortunately, my entire family is sick, including my 4-month-old daughter. So we're being very careful with how we move around the world. And so I'm here, but I wanted to be here to support Jessica and help her out with the rest of this with the other part of this presentation. I also like to thank the Academic Senate, in particular our leadership, Dr. Eileen Tejada, and hoping, partnering with Jessica and Doug Marriott, who are the two administrators on the the chairs of the group, along with the classified professional Oscar Navarro, our whole team, for engaging with them to kind of tie this work with the work of the Academic Senate, and that's why I was appointed by the Senate to take on this role. So thanks. I'll jump into the presentation. I'm starting with the next slide, please. Okay, so yeah, Jessica has been speaking a lot, very, wonderfully about kind of the goals of strategic enrollment and, kind of how the process is implemented and what the goals are of it and how we sort of establish these goals, strategies, tactics, and how it kind of moves into the future. But, why are we doing this, right? What is the kind of philosophy behind it, and why is it, right, important to do? Like, one of the ideas that is important is kind of the, how the strategic enrollment idea is going to sort of, bring together three kind of competing forces within community college education, and those being, access, success, and resources. The idea being that, like, a community college is designed for open access, and we want to be community focused. We want to be equity focused, sort of engaging students that, are left in the margins, things like that. And that's absolutely important. And that's a huge part of our mission as a college. But, right, we also don't want to leave people out in terms of their educational goals. If we focus too heavily on one, we're not going to get to the other. The success piece is very much about kind of making achievable goals for students and giving them that pathway to that success, right? And that is a huge part, right? Then we have, when we always have to be mindful of the resources that are available to us to accomplish those two other things, being open access and sort of success-minded and success-oriented campus. So those resources, right, are limited, and we have to sort of recognize that, right? So in strategic enrollment, what we're doing is bringing those three items together and finding that core middle ground where we can kind of, bring those. So we're developing these goals, strategies, and tactics in order to, kind of bring together those three parts of the kind of the core philosophy and work of a community college. And so hopefully, if we are successful, we'll find that optimal realm, which is that place in the center of there. Next slide, please. So yeah, getting more into like the process of it, right? Traditionally, the enrollment perspective, the idea of enrollment kind of, I know you're standing or you're looking at the Dean of Enrollment and Outreach at the campus, whose, kind of core job is to focus on the, bringing new students in, the idea around kind of engaging with them as they enter the campus and as they kind of get involved. And that's kind of the traditional enrollment perspective, right? The idea of kind of the beginning of a student experience, things like recruitment and marketing, additional enrollment, orientation, right? And it sort of leaves out the next part, which is sort of the student experience all the way through the degree goal attainment, right? And so what strategic enrollment does is, next slide, focus a little bit more on a holistic approach to that process, right? Which is to involve all of the different levels, right? And to kind of create a unified plan that then, orients the campus around, and every single constituent group within the campus around the process of kind of redesigning student experience, right? It says here the holistic approach to the student learning journey, but I really think of it as like you're redesigning the student experience at our college, right? Not only how we get students to the college, but who the students are that we're trying to get to the college. People, up in the upper left-hand corner there, the dual enrollment students, secondary prep pipeline, articulation and partnerships, ideas around how we engage with students that aren't right with prospective students, but then how we do those initial steps, and then how we redesign kind of the work that sort of dovetails the most with my work and with the work of the Academic Senate, which is learning on campus and virtual, the sort of work that we're doing in our new CETL program and our IDIs around kind of redesigning pedagogy at the campus, working with exploration pathways, redesigning kind of the student experience, right? The idea is that work really closely with the Guided Pathways Initiative, which I think is very much married to the strategic enrollment management, very closely related, because it really kind of engages with this idea of the student experience as they move through and working towards a goal, right? Also establishing that goal, right? I think a big conversation that we're having at the strategic enrollment discussion, along with discussions in Guided Pathways, is how students establish their goals, right? How they come in undecided. I think, Jessica was talking a little bit about folks like enrollment segments that we've been discussing. And one of them is undecided learners, which happens to be one of the biggest groups of students that we have at the campus. And, trying to establish like how to lower that number, which is a goal that we can establish within strategic enrollment management, right, is through the process of kind of engaging with all these different levels and giving them pathways to kind of recognize what goals they might have and sort of discover something about themselves that bring, and then placing a goal in front of them that is achievable, right? So it kind of, it goes to this entire approach. And then ultimately when they leave and succeed or transfer or achieve a certificate or degree, that they are satisfied, engaged alumni. We just heard in public comment, it's that, an engaged alumni who's still focused on the campus work. And that's wonderful. And I love to see that. An increased job and career satisfaction, increased equity, again, kind of lowered and small in the corner there. But I think kind of the most important piece of this is the equity focus of this whole project and the project of Guided Pathways. To keep our minds on the equity work that is so important for community colleges and for our college in particular. So I will pass it back to my esteemed colleague, Jessica Erickson. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you very much, John. Looking at SEM, as actually John mentioned as well, and sort of reiterate the significance of the SEM plan really as being a linked strategic plan, not something that stands on its own, sits on a shelf somewhere. We're all really proud of it, but nobody looks at it again. The plan is really something that is linked strategically to every other plan that we have, that we are very engaged actively in updating it. It's a living document. So the team will be looking at linkages, reviewing the good work of these initiatives, both former, continuing, and new, emerging as it comes from the Chancellor's office, from the state, from federal regulations. And we will use this data and identify particular strategies deemed to affect enrollment and student success in critical ways. So we will integrate, so we will assess the expected impact of those strategies. When they are linked and integrated, we will outline their expected cumulative effect. So really, this is the I should probably find it here. So it's how we operationalize is the word I was trying to come up with, the strategic plan for the college based on the student enrollment and student experience. So it's not an add-on, it's an add-in. It's really to be fully committed to that. An example, if you see, sorry, I should have said next slide. So visually now you'll see on this plan that we are absolutely linked with our institutional strategic plan, our mission, vision, future vision, and values will drive and will continue to be a great influence in this plan. We will be looking at the educational master plan as that's developed, the facilities master plan as that's finished, marketing plans. The student equity plan is a very key plan. We've been in conversations, of course, about that since the beginning. Our technology master plan that is, I hear a new update will be happening soon. So this is one of many plans, but it will really center all of these plans around enrollment. It'll really tie into that enrollment piece. And so to extend would be another word I'd use to describe that integration. Next slide, please. So here in front of you is a draft project timeline to sort of give you an idea of where we've been and where we're headed. Just to kind of jump right to the punchline, we will be finished and we will have a plan on Dr. Powell's desk at the end of May / beginning of June. But by June, it will be complete and ready. And you will have an update from us before then, of course. But that's just sort of jumping right to the finish line. That's our goal. And so this is a draft timeline with broad steps identified. The plan will be, as I mentioned before, a living plan. So our strategies and our tactics will continue to be refined and developed and implemented over the life of the plan. The plan will be a 5-year plan, but it will evolve in that 5 years as it is being implemented. As circumstances changed. Our consultant shared with us that schools that had strategic plans, when COVID hit and they had to redesign everything, they used their plan as their north, as their guideposts of what to do. And all they did is tweaked a few strategies, but tweaked a few of their tactics, but their strategies had to change too. But the plan, the goals, those all stayed the same. And so they all kept moving toward meeting those goals. So to date, the team has participated in SEM training, learning the framework and process of building a SEM plan. The team has also begun to review data, refine additional data needs, review enrollment segments and draft goals that emerged from the training, and begin to refine our focus. Our plan is to bring this back to you in March of 2023. So next year, next March, we will have lots of updates. We should have lots of great progress to share. Another really important thing, and I will say this is something in all of our planning and preparation for this presentation today. This is what Dr. Marriott said, Dr. Doug Marriott, who is also co-chairing with us, said, be sure and say this. So I definitely want to make sure that we make a really good point on this. It is important to note that SEM is not a quick fix. It is not the work of a single administrative unit. It is not solely about recruitment and marketing. It is not grounded in anecdotal evidence, and it is not disconnected from your strategic and other campus planning documents. So flipping that, it does take time, and we will do it right, because we will take the time that it needs to do it right. And we will all work together as an institution across all constituencies and bringing in that student voice. And we will ground our work in data. And that we're so lucky to have Robin, Dr. Warnell, with us, because she's provided us with all our data so far, and we've just given her our wish list at our last meeting. And we're going to be very careful, though, to prioritize so that we don't overwhelm her with data needs. But it will be a very data-rich process for all of us. So the plan will be written by June 23, but the plan will take several years to impact such things as persistence and retention rates, completion rates, graduation rates, and enrollment mix. So it will not happen. Results will not happen overnight, but having that north that we can all focus on will get us there. So if the plan is there, then we know where we're going, and we will refine the strategies and tactics to reach those goals. The SEM plan will be our roadmap to strategically building our enrollment to meet the needs of our students and our community. Thank you. That's it. And John, you wanted to go ahead and final words from John.
You always give me the last word. I don't know if I deserve that, but thank you so much. Yeah, no, I agree with everything Jessica said. And thank you guys so much again for thank you to the board and to Dr. Powell for inviting us and having us be a part of this. Yeah, I'll just echo again, what Jessica kind of left at the end there, which is, her quote of my colleague, Dr. Doug Marriott, that, this really is a long-term thing. It requires a lot of commitment and it requires a lot of resources. And it is, but once we get this plan built, that we'll have a roadmap, right? And that as those steps move forward, the commitment of this college, and I know, the commitment of Dr. Powell and the board is really important to us in terms of providing those resources that, all the different constituent groups on campus will need to accomplish these goals that we have. And that's it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you again. And thank you to Jessica for being there. You're amazing. Thanks again.
Thanks, John. Thank you for being there remotely.
Thank you, Ms. Erickson. Catherine, do we have any public comment on this item? Okay. Any comments or questions from our trustees? Yes, Trustee Iverson.
I was just curious about the feedback so far from all the different constituent groups, and what is, I guess, and if I missed it, I apologize, but what's the goal of getting, buy-in and feedback from everybody on campus?
So I think the best way that we will achieve that, I will have to say, is our representation that we have in the leadership, but also in the makeup of the group. We have John Kitchelow, who actually sits on the Academic Senate, who has committed, and he's already shared information to several teams that he works with of faculty. So our goal will be to ensure that just starting with faculty, that faculty are well informed of this process, that are part of the process. We have Dr. Eileen Dahada on our team as well. We have Angie Moore, who is one of our counseling faculty. We have James McGowan, who is also on our team. I didn't bring a list with me, but we do, think we do have a couple more.
Mick Williams is on there.
Oh, yes. And you might actually be able to share more, but, and then our classified, constituency support through our co-chair Oscar Navarro, who is in our viticulture winery technology program and has been tremendous in just embracing all of this and supporting this. And he also would have been here, but he has significant reasons for not being able to be here. So I don't want to share his personal stuff, but he would have been here too. So the fact that it's just John and I is not a reflection of the commitment of our team. They're incredible. And I'm just glad that we were able to come and share this with you. But in terms of that engagement, it's very important to us that we have feedback from the constituencies. And so using, and we have lots of classified members on the team as well. Catherine Rhino, and Angelica Torres and Amanda Frost and trying to think of anyone else, but yeah, no, it's a and we've also welcomed the participation of others who have shared interest, and they've been able to join us as well. So,
Trustee Olson.
Thank you. This is a very comprehensive and thoughtful plan. And this is a little follow-up to Trustee Everson's question. How do you plan on including student voice? You mentioned that a couple times.
Yes, very good question. And that was something that came up right away. Like, should we have students on our team? And there may be a time, and when it perhaps evolves into a district committee, then there would be student representation. But as a strategic enrollment plan developing team, which is what we are, a task force that is tasked with building the plan, we are going to be using methods of reaching out, such as surveys and focus groups and other research that's already been done that we can utilize. We want to try to use what we already have as data points to understand and assess our students and our needs. So we're going to, wherever possible, use data that's already there, or can be easily extracted. And then, but we will add in, obviously, as needed, when we need to understand why are students taking non-credit courses. Some of it we can surmise from data. Others, we might need to ask students more information, and we would gather that then through, again, survey methods that Robin would help guide us on.
And in this plan, would we look also at students that are choosing not to come to Napa, but rather Santa Rosa or Solano County?
That's another very good question. So that would likely show up, I would think, in a tactic of how we would engage or re-engage students that we've lost for one reason or another. And that is something that we already are doing when we're calling students that are no longer attending and asking them, what are your reasons for stopping out? And then what is it that you need that will help you re-engage in the college? Or what feedback can you share with us as to why you're no longer attending the college? So yes, that would likely be in perhaps a tactic of one of our enrollment goals around increasing our number of students over 25, let's say. So again, our enrollment segments are fairly broad. But our strategies and our tactics will be more precise.
And I think what I always look at is that even when I was in high school in St. Helena, a lot of the students were like, no, I'm going to Santa Rosa from St. Helena or Calistoga. And so I would like to entice those students to come this way instead of going over the mountain. And lately I've been commuting a lot to Santa Rosa. It's not like a horrible drive unless it's frozen. But it's, I want to make that more intentional, where we're bringing those students and really making it more worth their while to come this way.
Absolutely. And I think some of that too is how are we building those relationships with those students where they want to come to us before they don't even think about
the college over the hill. They think, oh, well, I just want to go to Napa Valley College. And so the work that we are doing and that we will continue to build in, so I think can see another strategy, you know, how we engage the Upper Valley and what does that look like in terms of our outreach in the high schools up Valley and the activities that we participate in. And I know Dr. G is working very hard to get to and with us together to really build a lot of support in our outreach efforts in Calistoga, St. Helena. And so. Yeah.
Jessica, if I could mention something.
Please, John, sorry.
No, yeah, I'm listening to, and it's a great question and comment from Trustee DeLuna because and I want to mention Christine Tapia, who's on our team, and she's done a lot of work in kind of engaging with dual enrollment. And I think it was really insightful, something she said, or the things she was talking about at yesterday's meeting that we had about her goals around, you know, engaging high school students, engaging middle school students, engaging their parents, and kind of having this sort of multi-tiered kind of approach to the way that we engage students at every level as they kind of work through their high school work, whether they're in dual enrollment through CCAP or through traditional dual enrollment, or they're just kind of working through high school and thinking about what's coming next, and that we're kind of in their, eye line, essentially, right? You know, figuratively, and that there's a recognition that we are kind of a destination for them that is, sort of accessible and can provide them sort of an achievable goal of success, which is built into the strategic enrollment. So I just wanted to mention her work and how much I was kind of, blown away by what she's doing in that area. And then, obviously that dovetails a lot with how the plan is going to come together. So.
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you mentioned that, John, because I will just echo that that's absolutely true. We are very lucky to have Christine Tapia in the role of dual enrollment manager. That is a relatively new position, and it's been an incredible help in the enrollment process. So she is amazing and a great contributor on our team. So I will definitely second that, and also say that one of our enrollment segments is dual enrollment. So we are looking at dual enrollment, and there will be, I am quite sure after this, some action plans built centered around our dual enrollment program and how we may want to tweak that to really refine how we do it. And again, built on a lot of what the framework that Christine's already built. She's done a lot of amazing work.
Trustee Baker?
Yeah, I love that we actually have a real plan. I love that. Not just flying by the seat of our pants. And I also am just really interested in the data points, and I'm curious about the external factors that you're looking at and how you're identifying and incorporating trends that we don't necessarily have control over, like the fact that K through 12 have experiencing lower enrollment. And so what's the plan for addressing that and making certain that you incorporate?
So what comes to mind first on that, and I think that's a really good question. I think that what we want to look at is that some of this data, and we will want to look at some of this data through the lens of other plans. So I would say a lot of that data is going to come through our educational master plan. And I don't know, Robin is, of course, our expert on data. So I don't know if there's other thoughts that you have, Robin. You're welcome to come to the podium and share on our behalf. But I would say that we will be looking at that data as things are available and as we are able to, within an enrollment segment, as we're building the strategies to try and figure out how we're going to move the needle on a particular goal. And we realize, we really need to know how many high school students we actually have and what are the trends for the future. If it's not yet in an educational master plan that we could look at, then maybe we would look to the master plan for K-12 and see what their numbers look like. Because we will be, but I think what you've hit on is an important point, that we need to dig deep in looking at the whole landscape of our community. Other topics that came up in the group that I was sitting in was the non-credit. We were centered on non-credit for some time, and we were talking about defining who are our non-credit students and what are their needs and what is our capacity for non-credit. how are we building those pathways from non-credit to credit? And so a lot of those tactics will be around that, but also defining what do we want our non-credit program to be. So I think, we'll be looking at, when we look at these goals, we're going to have to ask ourselves those questions and look to other documents to help guide, other leading college documents that will help guide how we're going to frame our work on the enrollment pieces of those big questions.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to add quick context to that. What I think Dean Erickson is really saying is the utilization and implementation of best data that we have, and really assessing from a strategic planning perspective what the future for the Napa Valley region beyond just the community college looks like. From this 5,000-foot level, from what we would call an education master plan, which would incorporate best data from our service area on population projections, and what best data we have on labor market analysis, and what we think to the best ability we have to predict what the future for our region is going to look like, to position us to really be that service for this changing landscape and dynamic, because our student population is going to look very different even 3 or 4 years from now than what it does. And so the college really should be positioned strategically to best serve that changing population, utilizing some of those tools that Dean Erickson brought up, non-credit, expansion of career education, and thinking about ways to service high school students a little earlier through dual enrollment. So that really is the function and purpose of the SIM, to help us contextualize all of these really useful data points and synthesize them into a very strategic plan that's going to help us to be prepared for those changes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean Erickson.
Just reach out anytime if you have more questions.
And John, best to your family.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And Dr. Warner.
Good evening, Board, and welcome to our new members in particular. So each year, the Office of Research Planning and Institutional Effectiveness, or RIPE, compiles an annual progress report tracking accomplishments associated with our institutional strategic plan. So I'm here to present the 2021-22 progress report. The annual progress report represents one document among a set of documents that NVC uses to monitor its performance relative to established goals and helps ensure that we meet accreditation standard 4C8, which pertains to the governing board, and states, quote, to ensure the institution is accomplishing its goals for student success, the governing board regularly reviews key indicators of student learning and achievement and institutional plans for improving academic quality. The 2021-22 progress report summarizes the substantive improvements that were made across the institution to promote the 6 institutional goals and improve student success, student learning, and institutional effectiveness last year. It includes a report card comparing the most recent performance against baselines that were established in 2017-2018. So I am going to provide some highlights associated with goals 1 through 4, which pertain specifically to the student experience as well as equity. So some highlights for goal 1 include accomplishments associated with dual enrollment. That might be the theme of the meeting this evening. So dual enrollment. So that includes increasing our presence at local high schools, implementing innovative approaches, and one I would highlight is the pilot ethnic studies counseling learning community at Valley Oak High School. And we also increased the proportion of 2021 graduates from St. Helena and Calistoga that enrolled at NVC the fall following graduation. For goal 2, we expanded student support and engagement by expanding our learning community offerings, mental health support, and peer mentoring. We also defined 6 exploration pathways and increased the proportion of first-time degree or transfer seeking students that completed transfer level math and English in the first year. We increased those figures by 10%. For goal 3, or the completion agenda, we expanded internship opportunities for students, and we increased degree and certificate offerings by 34%. We also increased the number of students earning certificates approved by the Chancellor's Office and the number of students earning associate degrees for transfer, and both of those increased by 24%. And finally, for goal 4, regarding equity, we implemented the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Colloquium, and we decreased performance gaps in successful course completion rates, most notably a 3% decrease in the gap among African American Black students, and we increased the number of certificates conferred among African American Black students by 90%. The annual progress report is reviewed by the Planning and Budget Committee, shared with the governing board, and distributed among the campus community each year. This report was included on the agenda for the Planning and Budget Committee last month, and it will be distributed among the campus community and posted on the RIPI portion of the college website following this meeting, once I am trained on how to post documents on the new website. So bear with us on that, but it's in board docs for now. So happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Everson?
I was just, it's nice to hear that we had increases across the board in the areas that you highlighted, even with COVID too.
Yes.
So even historically, I mean, if we look back a couple of years, it's probably follows that trend, I would imagine, or.
So yes, I think one thing, I'm just harkening back to a recent forum we had on program review and the reviews that were completed last year. And one kind of theme that emerged during that forum was that the work that had been done, particularly in terms of expanding services online, even before COVID hit, really positioned us well to continue with those implementations. We weren't starting completely from scratch. So.
Any questions or comments? Trustee Rios.
Yeah, Catherine, can we scroll to the slide? I think there was a thing on the enrollment from Up Valley and the increases.
Yes, it'll be, keep scrolling. It's under goal 1, and it's going to keep going. This is the strategic plan part of it. So keep going. Okay, now we're getting closer. I think it's the green part. It'll be the green report card associated with this. There we go. Capture rate, MVUSD, St. Helena, and Calistoga.
Yeah, so this has always been an issue for me. The Up Valley and how many students we capture, and always a big concern that although there's been an increase, I mean, in real numbers, what is that really? How many new students, additional students, actual bodies?
Okay, yeah. I could work with Dr. Powell to get you that number, but I do want to highlight that this is actually the rate. So it is a proportion. So in 2017-18, approximately 17% of the graduates from St. Helena came here the fall after graduation. The rate, no matter what the size of that graduating pool, was in 2021-22, there were about 7% more students that came with that cohort. So we've controlled in a sense for the size of the graduating.
Yeah, which usually St. Helena around 80 to 110 for their graduating class. So still, I think we can get more students. With everything that's going on and everything that Dr. Guerrero is doing and all of the things that Dr. Powell has been talking about, and hearing about the strategic enrollment plan. That's one thing that in the past, while we talked about, that there are linkages between our different plans, I don't think I've ever heard it quite the way it was described today, what the plan that's being developed, how that's supposed to work. And so I was very excited to read about that and then hear the explanation. It seems like that should help. But I just wonder how quickly is this going to happen? I think we're just the opportunity to try to get some of these students knowing why they're going, as Trustee DeLuna asked, are we asking why to these that are not coming and leaving or dropping out or whatever it is? Do we have any information? Are we trying to get information on the ones that just go directly to Santa Rosa or Solano and why they did that? Is it just my brother went there, so I'm following kind of in the family footsteps? Or I think we need to know that information too, so that everything that's happening now to try to reach out to these students maybe will be more effective. So, and you may be doing that already. And, I think it'd be great to hear that's going on. What is it and how is it happening?
So stay tuned for what comes from the SEM plan.
Right.
Definitely looking into that, to all of those factors.
Thank you.
Vein 2 is just a breakdown, like how many local students, like from Napa and neighboring communities up Valley, is our student population, or is it people coming in and from Solano County?
Yeah. So again, that would be a different report, and I can again work with Dr. Powell to provide an update for you all next month or in one of your weekly updates.
Yeah, I believe that number is it's always in between like 50 and 60% of the student body. I don't want to quote, but I feel like that's pretty consistently in that range.
15%.
50 to 60% of the student body is from local schools.
And it's in terms of Solano County, we were about a third recently. However, those numbers have dipped, whether that's from COVID.
Yeah. And that'd be interesting to look at, especially with
25%.
The SEM that we were talking about too. And then I have kind of a question, or maybe a request, similar in light of Trustee Rios and maybe a little Trustee Goff coming through me right now, but interesting that we get for NVUSD and breaking that out, what is it between American Canyon and seeing what those numbers are. Again, I'm actually more kind of thinking in the context of the SEM too. So I'm sure that will, those numbers will come out in some form, and I'm sure you have it, but
yeah, we can.
Just curious. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Warnell.
Thank you.
Moving to the Jim Reeves Show. Item 10.1, our unrestricted general fund update.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd, members of the board. Trustee Olson and I are requesting a big screen for the next meeting, so that we don't have to arm wrestle over this one. This is the monthly budget report. Just a little orientation, particularly for those who are not familiar with this report. Top line, unrestricted general fund, or Fund 11. Fund 11, those are primarily the funds that we have discretion over to use to manage the institution. The distinction is we have several funds, but the other large fund is a Fund 12, not on your agenda for this evening. Those are restricted funds. They're provided to the institution by the state, by government, by grants for very specific purposes. And so you'll usually see those in reports about how those programs are doing. In an effort to be as transparent as possible about where we are financially with the institution, we provide this monthly. Best practices are at least quarterly. But we think the better practice is probably monthly at this point. Just to continue along the orientation, far left column, revenues and expenditures, as you can see. The column B, C, and D are actuals from to 3 previous years. D will be actual any moment now, as actually as the audit gets completed. But if you really want to look at trend data, that's where you would want to look to see what those 3 years are doing. Column E is the board the board approved budget for this year. That's the reference point that you'll want to look at as you review this budget information. F is prior year actuals where we were at this point last year. G are current actuals where we are this year. H is the 5-month actuals where we were in 5 months. And I would offer that A is probably, if you wanted to take a quick look at the budget to see how we're doing, look at column I. And that's what we're focusing on right now. Could you scroll over to right a bit more, Catherine? Also look at the number above the table where it says in parentheses 5/12 equals 42%. We are 42% into our budget. And so a general rule of thumb in reading this is to show where we are relative to the budget at this point in the year and the far right column. So you look at the far right column, you can see, let's look at the revenues first. The revenues, you can see where our total revenues right now are 7% of our budget at this point in the year. Last year, we were at 17%. There's no reason for real alarm here because our property tax revenues have not yet arrived. We are on the phone daily with the county, by the way, as is the school district, asking when those revenues will arrive. We don't have a cash problem this year. We have some influx of cash from the state on a variety of levels. So we don't necessarily have a cash problem, and we anticipate as soon as those property tax revenues arrive, that number will jump up. They typically arrive, they should have arrived in the last week, frankly, but we have not seen them yet. So as we scroll down a little bit, Catherine, you can see on the right column, again, the reference point is 5 months in, or about 42%, I believe. We're trending very well. Our total salaries were at about 37%. I can't see the line number in the far left. The total salaries are 37%, well below our trend. Thank you. Our benefits are at 30. Thank you, Trustee Olson. 38%. Again, well above well below where we were last year. 27% for our total books and supplies. Scroll down a little bit more, Catherine. A bit more. The only variance that gets my attention a bit, not too extraordinary, is our other outgo. Our capital outlay. You'll see it says 110% of budget. So we're a little bit over there. The timing is about right. We were at about 85% last year. We have some expenses there that need to be reclassed out of Fund 11 into another fund. So those have not quite been done yet. And then total expenditures, the blue line across, we are at, Trustee Olson wants to say? Thank you, 38%. So we're trending a bit below our budget, certainly this year and compared to last year. So it all looks very sound at this point, and we don't anticipate any significant problems unless Dr. Powell gives me a big bill at some point. Otherwise, I think we're doing very well. I'll entertain any questions on the Fund 11.
Trustee Baker.
I just had a quick question about the little thing at the top, or the 5/12, 42%. Is that new? Or was that there last month?
It was there last time. I think you recommended it, Trustee Baker.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking I should put that on my own report. So maybe I just recommended it to you and not myself.
Well, I think you should label column I, the Baker column.
Baker column. Okay.
I really just love this report. I'm just going to say it every month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reeves. We will move on to an action item 10.1, the Chancellor's Office Quarterly Financial Status Report.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. Could you open that report, please, Catherine? Just as an explanation, the state of California, through the Chancellor's Office, requests that we file a quarterly report on our finances. I will share with you that we have filed this, and we have we've understated our revenues here. So we have contacted the Chancellor's Office. Understated simply means we had a typo in it, and we're saying we're going to get less revenue than we actually are. So this is accurate from that perspective, but we will be correcting that on the second quarter report to the state. So it's fairly straightforward. It comes, lots of the information comes right off of our Fund 11 budget report and our history of budgets over the last few years. So other than that, little hitch in the getaway, if you will, and it will be corrected at the next quarterly report. We appear to be in good stead with the state and the chancellor's office.
Trustee Everson.
Does the understatement of this have any reflection on the release of the property tax dollars, or
No. Trustee Iverson, if you could figure out what's holding up those property tax dollars,
no?
we would be forever thankful.
Catherine, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not.
Okay. See none, and I don't see any other questions. I would welcome a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Rios. And thank you, Trustee Olson, for your second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously, approved unanimously. We will go to item 10.3, Board of Trustees report guidance schedule.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. This is the schedule for the development of the college's annual operating budget. It is reviewed and considered by the District Budget and Planning Committee. And this has been endorsed by the Planning Committee and has been forwarded to Dr. Powell and to the board for their consideration and approval.
Any comments or questions? Catherine, any public comment on this item?
No, we do not have any.
Okay. And we will move on to the next item, 10.4, 23-24 planning and budget development timeline.
This document, I stand corrected. The previous document was, could you go back to the previous document, Catherine? I confused these two documents, so it may affect the vote that Trustee Dodd.
I thought you had it. Okay, go ahead.
The BOT report guidance schedule is the template that came out of the FCMAT report. The FCMAT report is the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team that the college was engaged with last spring.
Yeah, okay. That what was up.
Okay, good. I mischaracterized it. These are the reports that the board should expect from staff on a monthly basis to provide the kind of transparency that you should expect and our colleagues across the campus should expect in terms of providing good information about the financial status of the institution. So thank you for that.
And then the next one we do need approval on that one, item 10.4.
Yes, this is the planning and budget timeline. Again, was considered by the planning and budget committee and endorsed by the committee, recommended to the president and the board of trustees for your consideration.
Catherine, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, we do not. And this one is the action item.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I would welcome a motion.
Move approval.
Thank you, Trustee Rios and Trustee Iverson, for your second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved unanimously. And we will move to 10.5, budget values and assumptions.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. This is a document that provides broad guidance for the institution in the development of the annual budget. It provides some guidance for percentages directed toward particular investments. It also requests that the college not use one-time funds for ongoing expenses, and focuses on the need to support faculty salaries and staff salaries within a thick guideline of 85%. It's very general, but it provides guidance to both staff and our colleagues across the campus as they develop the budget moving forward. This is an annual document. The only change from last year is a recommendation that we align salary with the FCMAT report of not less than 85% of our annual operating budget devoted to salaries and benefits.
And maybe we could do like a little mini audit and finance committee report since this document went through that committee. Sorry for not giving a little forewarning on this, Trustee Rios, but as our chair of that committee, would you indulge us? Yeah.
Well, that last week when the committee reviewed this, and on the last point that Mr. Reeves was talking about, trying to keep the salaries of that in line with the FCMAT recommendations, the report did show that the amount in a percentage, the average was at 87%. And what the committee recommended was that actually that exact percentage be removed, and that we change the language just to read that we strive to meet the FCMAT recommendations and, meet the average, whatever that number may be, and not actually set it as a firm 87%, because that can change over time, depending upon what other colleges and conditions. So we didn't want our guidelines and things to tie us to a specific number, but to the actual, the language of FCMAT, that their recommendations, and just using the average as opposed to the exact number.
Perfect. And just for context, I guess it was 87%. Approximately, but I think we're right now in terms of in our existing budget, we're around 85%, which is really commensurate with approximately commensurate with FCMAT's recommendations too.
That's correct, and we are at the state average right now at 85%.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Rios. This is an action item before we get a motion. Catherine, do we have any public comment on budget values and assumptions?
No, we do not.
Okay. Well, I would welcome a motion.
Move approval.
Thank you, Trustee Baker. And Trustee Olson for your second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Adopted unanimously. Item 10.6, another action item, approval of pool for construction management and project management services.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. The district has a need to retain qualified professional services in the area of construction management and project management. Construction management for the more immediate project, which is the wine center, which we anticipate, fingers crossed, that we could begin construction as early as next summer. And so in an effort to represent the interests of the college in the construction process, we need to retain those services. We also have a project management need for the student housing project, a liaison between the project and the college and its administration, Those are distinctly different kinds of skill sets, though companies oftentimes have those same skill sets, they are somewhat different. We sent out an RFQ and we were able to attract the attention of several firms. We put together a grid, a rubric, if you will, to evaluate those respondents. I met with a team of 3, including a board member from the Wine Foundation, to evaluate all of the requests. And tonight we make a recommendation on the lists for those both of those needs. The list allows the college now to go forward with the interview of firms who have specific experience relative to these 2 projects, and engage in contract discussions about moving forward with those 2 particular services.
Any questions? Trustee Baker.
I'm just wondering, in approving the pool, will the contracts, once they've actually been awarded, still come back? Or is this, by us approving the pool, does that give you the authority to enter into contract?
The contract will always come to the Board of Trustees.
Trustee Iverson.
I don't know if you heard it today, Jim, but I appreciate everything you do. So thank you. And I'll move for approval on this one.
Okay. We have a motion and a second from Trustee Kishinev. Catherine, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, we do not.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Pool is adopted unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. And second, Trustee Iverson's comments as well. Nice to have these folks on board with everything is going on the campus and support the team. 12.1 EAB Global. Start the Starfish initiative.
I'll ask Senior Manager Chris Farmer to speak about this. Thank you, Board. Thank you, trustees, for giving us a moment to talk about Starfish. We've actually had it here a couple years, and it's a very valuable piece of what we're hoping to do going forward. So I thought I'd give you a little history first. If Catherine, next slide, please. So we've actually had Starfish going for a few years here. We got it in 2019. It's taken a lot of effort to set it up. I have to tip my hat to Jacinia Cota. She's in the audience listening. She's done a lot of work behind the scenes here. We launched in spring 2021, primarily the focus of Starfish. And if you're confused about the name, I'm going to get to what it is in a sec. Primarily the focus of Starfish to date has been an early alert type system. It's been used to put out progress surveys for EOPS, for athletics. It's a platform where folks can log in and very efficiently manage a caseload. Right now, it's been completely focused on courses, right? So the linkage has been pretty much between courses and counselors, right? And right now you can raise things like in danger of failing. So imagine someone's not doing well in your class. You can click a button. It sends a notice off to counseling, lets them know student's not doing so well. Right now, so keeping in mind, right now the linkage is completely between the classroom and counseling, and very heavy into our support programs that have assigned counselors and assigned caseloads already. So that's the history. Let me give you a little bit of history, background on how it works, Captain. So how it works. So imagine it's a front-facing platform of colleague, right? So any of you played with our Lucian colleague, it's not exactly the prettiest thing to just click through and look for student records and look up information. So what Starfish does is it hooks up the colleague, it takes all that data, it digests, and one of the most important things it does is that bullet right there where it says it creates relationships. So it's a fantastic and powerful case management tool where students can, based on attributes that come out of our SIS, our data system, it can drop students into pools. It can associate them with pathways. It can associate them with other relevant flags. So any affinity group, any at-risk group we have, we can flag them in the system, and Starfish can create these relationships between. I'll give you a view in a second so you have an idea what that actually looks like. And honestly, beyond early alert, it provides this entire communication platform. So you can look up any student in our system, depending on your privileges, and you could send them a direct email. You could also look up a batch of students. You could create a cohort of students and send them all at once. It can auto-generate things like if a student has a hold on their account. It can, all it does is uploads that, blasts out an email, keeps us apprised. All the counselors see that on their dashboard. Students get notices, all these things, all in one. It's a very large enterprise platform. I'm going to give you a little bit of a look, but there's a lot that we haven't even touched. You can even do to-do lists, success plans, and schedule appointments all through one single platform. So next slide. I'm more of a visual person, so this is kind of what it looks like. And this is actually what it looks like right now. We don't have to build anything. Once again, hats off to Jacinia for doing so much of this work. So this is what it looks like. A student logs in. They see their success network. Now, I picked a student intentionally here who appears to be an athlete and a member of Emoja. And that is built automatically based on the data that's uploaded into their system. So imagine a brand new student coming into the college. Imagine all the attributes we could capture off the application. And then we create the relationships and associations. So the first time a student logs in, they see this. They know who their counselor is. They know who their support team is. All those tiles on the bottom are customizable, so you can move things around. So what does the student see when they first get here? What are they experiencing with the college? So this is the student dashboard. And now the next slide is not very pretty because I had to blank out a bunch of contact information because of the public meeting, but this is my instructor dashboard. But really, you can create a whole variety of privileges and give a whole bunch of people privileges to different cohorts, different groups, different associations with the college. So imagine that you're the business office and there's students that are behind on their fees and need a nudge on their payment plan. To Wheeler Gray in the business office, you can run the report based on that flag, that attribute, pull up a whole list, 1 click, 2 clicks, and an email blast out to all those students from Tooele. It makes us an incredibly efficient communicator with our students. And it can really be done by any caseload, any grouping you can imagine of students. That's what Starfish is for. And then a couple other just highlights of it. Go on. This is, so every program, every service here can create these service cards. So this is the catalog of services. So once again, imagine that new student coming in, being able to expose them to all of these. And then if you click on one of these, we can, excuse me, drill down a little bit. So go ahead to the next slide. And you start to see kind of the department level. So a student can actually see who's working in the department, emails, phone numbers. If it was set up for this department, they could schedule an appointment with one of those folks. And so there's a lot of very fertile ground here. And I'll tell you at this point, we've done a limited amount of that. We've been very focused on the early alert. One of the big things we want to push is getting it more upfront in a student enrollment cycle. So when they log in, they see this experience, they see the college. It's a real community and connection builder, and that's what we're ultimately looking for here. Do I have one more slide? I don't remember. Oh, one last thing just to highlight from like the course level, just the idea of connecting. So you can take those services. So every service has a card. You can play around with how they show up on a student dashboard, what you want to expose a student to. Maybe they have a to-do list. Go look at the TRIO card because they're eligible for TRIO, which all could be automated behind the scenes. And this is a course level. So if a student clicks on one of the things in the menu, they can bring up their courses. Now, you know, it's one thing we're missing is pictures of our faculty, but you have an English class and a math class here. They can get in, they can see their instructor's email, their instructor's name. If the instructor had office hours set up, they can make an appointment right there. And then one of the key things on this is if you see the English class, right next to it is the writing center. So you can start associating services right with the courses. So students see all the resources in one area. They don't have to go shopping on the website. They don't have to find them. They're right here. And from there, you can do referrals. And it's big. It's a lot. And once again, just scratching the surface with this presentation and really trying to blow it up over the next 2 years and see what we can do with it. That's my presentation.
Trustee Kishinev.
I have a couple questions. So I'm to assume that I'm to understand that if a student is falling behind and not completing coursework, that there's going to be an alert going out to certain staff members. Is there going to be an alert going out to the student?
Yes. Well, and it's honestly fully configurable. As it is right now, if a faculty member says you're missing some assignments, a student would get that, as well as whatever kind of cohort they've been assigned to also would see that.
So how many staff would be notified if, say, it was one subject? Would that be a teacher in that subject as well as counseling as well as other staff?
It could depend, right? I mean, if you're in EOPS, you might get a few different staff that would all see that. If you're in a program where you only have kind of one primary cancer, only one person might see it. So it really it depends on the cohort you're in and sort of also the threshold, because maybe missing assignments, your first flag isn't something that goes immediately to a counselor, like,
Right.
but maybe after you get 3 of those, then maybe it elevates. And so you can play with the thresholds with which these flags are generated.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
I was recently at a CCLC conference in the city, and Compton Community College did a presentation, a breakout on their early alert program. I don't think it was Starfish, but they spent years customizing this and really honing in, all of these elements that are part of this this early alert program. And I believe this last year, their graduation rate increased by like 20-something%. Specifically because of the work that was done with the early alert system. So it's really amazing that it's here at the college, and I think it's going to be a great asset. I do have a question though, because something that they talked about was it wasn't just emailing students, it wasn't just alerting counselors, it was reaching out personally, going to a class and pulling a student out and talking to them if they were falling behind, or calling them on the phone if they had missed a couple classes. And so I think that personal touch was a really important element of their system. I'm wondering if that's something you've thought about incorporating.
Well, absolutely. And I'd say that is already happening in pockets. Like I know EOPS, if they have urgent critical flags, they're texting their students, they're calling their students. From my area in Camino Sal Éxito, if someone has right now we have what's raised in there called like a persistence flag, a student who is here this semester who is not yet registered for spring. Like we're trying our best to get a hold of all those. So yes, can it be more? Absolutely. Yes.
I also love the fact that you're not just tagging students who are falling behind, but students who are doing well and succeeding, and you're giving them kudos and reaching out and giving them pats on the back. That makes a huge difference. I know that was part of the presentation from the Compton's community college level.
Absolutely. It really does. I saw a presentation from Long Beach on their model, and they actually release a progress survey at the end of the semester, and it actually has no negative things to raise. And now we have to discuss that here, but it's just all positive encouragement as you go into finals. So
it's great. Thank you.
I just had a question. I'm sorry about how do students know, or how do they learn how to use this and be able to get the maximum use out of it?
So, and that's the challenge right now. Kind of where it lays in our enrollment funnel is towards the end. Right now, the users are identified. It's really just a classroom tool. We typically are relying on faculty to inform students of it. The change we're already undertaking, I'm looking around to see if Daniel's here because I drove him nuts with a meeting yesterday, is moving it more upfront in the enrollment cycle in the 5 steps. So it is part of what a student does as they enter the college, as they log in here, and they'll see their success team, they'll see their services, they'll see all those things. So that's undertaking. It is listed in orientation as well as a few other things, but we would like it to be more of just a whole onboarding process. That's the plan right now.
Trustee Iverson.
I think that's my question, Chris, this is great. And a lot of these systems, I don't think anyone would argue the value of them, but who's uploading the data and how do we get everybody to do that on the campus? Because that's when you're going to have the success from it.
Well, fantastic question. And I will tell you this, that our faculty here, so mostly we've been using progress surveys. Our faculty are fantastic at it. We have through the roof numbers when we send them out a progress survey and ask, how are these students doing? So hats off to all our faculty. Thank you so much for doing that. It is a challenge. I think though, one thing that we need to look at is just, through practice. And that is one of my goals, is stepping in as the recent admin of Starfish, is to look at other offices that are also services, right? Like the business office. They need to talk to students a lot. And if we can engage students in that direction as well and teach them to start using this platform as the way you talk, then we draw them in. Then we draw them in, and like, this is where you go. Email your professor right from here. You don't have to go look for their email address. It's right here for you. So I think there's a bit of a culture shift there, which can be challenging, but it's mostly going to be through use. Right? We're going to have to use it, and there is, I see Jim over there smiling a little bit. It's a 2-year contract because honestly, full disclosure, we did not feel like we were getting our money's worth for the first 3 years. So we limited ourselves to 2 years. We're going to try our best to make it work, at the same time evaluating what else is out there. So it's also a time to make sure we're bridging a gap. Maybe something's going to pop up in 2 years, but I think things like progress surveys are just going to be very powerful over the next couple of years. And we're going to try. We're going to do our best.
What kind? Oh, sorry.
I was just on that one. So what can this board do to help facilitate these type of resources?
Vote yes. And no, I think
Beat that one up.
it's beating a long beat drum is this does rely on IT support. They have been fantastic through all this. It relies on coding. It relies on flexibility of our server. All those things are important to make sure these platforms function well.
I just had one more question about accessibility. So tech averse, maybe challenge students and also bilingual. Does this have the ability to translate or to provide information in Spanish as well as in English?
It does not have like a quick toggle translate, unfortunately, no. Everything is fully customizable, so services could translate their cards, but unfortunately, no, it doesn't have it would be nice to have a one switch all in Spanish. That'd be fantastic. Not quite there yet.
Any other questions, Trustee Rios?
Quick question. You said this was a 2-year contract. So all the work that's being done to try to maximize this program, is that going to be useful? Say if a year and a half you decide this isn't going to work, we need a new platform. Are you right now looking at other potential platforms as you work with this one?
Working with IT, we do have our eye on a few things. One of them is Lucy colleague, and I don't want to get too far out ahead, but Lucy colleague is working on develop some things called student experience. And we have a lot of questions about what that might do. Now, will that roll into our colleague contract? We might get some things for free, but there is an ongoing assessment of what might come down the road. Now, even if, let's say we did that with Lucy and student experience wouldn't even happen until we were in the cloud, and then we're probably going to need months to put it together and make it happen. So the Starfish would, at least right now with a 2-year contract, make sure it bridged that gap for us. And Trustee Rios, if I can kind of answer that question also, I think that first off, Starfish is a very popular platform across the state, right? The majority of districts are utilizing this particular system as their solution in this space right now. So I think it situates us in a very strong position, given the potential possibility for additional resources or support from the state chancellor's office down the road, as they typically tend to do when they, have a system that the majority of colleges are utilizing, and possibly some support to institutionalize that continued usage. So that's a possibility. The other thing that I'll say to kind of address your question about the functionality of the work that we're doing now, or how translatable it is if we do at some point down the road decide to switch to a different system. As I think Chris articulated very well, a lot of this work connects and integrates with the work of the Strategic Enrollment Management Task Force as well. And these are internal processes that, we need to continue to assess. The point at which a student would engage with any form of technological solution or referral system is an internal discussion, right? In terms of how we structure our onboarding experience, and at what point we locate students to resources. So a lot of this work is directly translatable, irrespective of whatever the tool or technological solution, because it's a modification of our work processes, our business practices, and our philosophy for engagement to students. So I'll say that it's not going to be all for naught, right? If we do a switch or transition at some point in the future, there's still tremendous value in this.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I did want to also point out to Trustee Olson, you are and the team have all stars when it comes to, outreach and everything you guys have done on registration and enrollment side. I know you and Miss Erickson, I think Christine, many calluses, I think, on your fingers for all the students that you guys dialed in August and over the summer. So thank you for all that the team does.
Thank you for that.
Shoot, I feel like I got to make the motion for approval on it.
Is that a motion?
So I will move for approval. Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Iverson.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Trustee DeLuna. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved unanimously. We'll move on to our reports. Board of Trustees welcomes reports from our campus groups. Reports may be made verbally or submitted in writing. If a report is expected to last over 3 minutes, please notify the president's office or the board chair in order to place your issue on the agenda as a separate item. And any documents presented, please send those in ahead of our meeting so we can prepare it and include it in with the agenda as part of the public record. And for our first report, we will go to the Academic Senate and Dr. Eileen Tejada, who I guess is not here. So then we will quickly move on to Bob Vanderveld. Sorry.
It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All those Bobs look alike. I hope Dr. Tejada is grading papers as we are at the end of the semester. So, President Todd, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. For the benefit of our two new board members, I would note that the Administrative Senate currently consists of 2 sets of employees, 11 classified confidential employees whose work involves personnel matters, and 23 sub-cabinet administrators who have supervisory responsibility on the campus. There is only 1 seat at the table for our group because unlike other groups, we're not at present subject to collective bargaining. But that doesn't mean that I get to talk twice as long or twice as loud or twice as fast. Just that our group deals with matters handled through a mutual gains process rather than through collective bargaining. And we look forward to the scheduling of a mutual gains session in the very near future. Members of the Administrative Senate provided input regarding a set of new and revised policies and procedures that are important to move forward on behalf of our students. We also celebrated and commiserated with one another at our annual end of semester social event, as providing support for each other is also an important part of the mission of the Administrative Senate. We are in the process of collecting the modest membership dues, which helps fund an annual contribution to scholarship sponsored by the Administrative Senate. On behalf of my colleagues, please accept my congratulations to our new board members and our best wishes for a festive holiday season and a peaceful and prosperous new year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming Ms. Sharma is not here today,
No,
probably should be studying.
She's studying and her report is posted.
Okay. Then we will go to Classified Association and Miss Dixie Larson.
Not present.
Okay. Well, I know somebody who is present. Daniel Alexander.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to come really to be with everybody tonight. It felt important and to welcome our new board members. It's exciting. I don't have an official report. I just wanted to welcome you, be here with everybody. I don't know, maybe it's the holiday spirit. And looking forward to the spring semester and, just working together and doing good work for our students and our college community and each other. So that's really it. Just wanted to say congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. And also looking forward to a well-deserved winter break. Is Christy Iwamoto here? No. Okay. And we'll move to President and Cabinet reports.
Good evening, Board, President Pell, esteemed guests. First, I'd like to begin by welcoming new trustees also in Kishinev. Welcome. Look forward to working with you. I wanted to give you an update this evening about spring enrollments. This is posted for you, so I will go through it, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer to the extent I can. So as of this morning, it's about 3:45 a.m. We are at about an overall 50% fill rate for spring 23, which is we're very close to the same date last year. We're not where we want to be. We're moving. Enrollments continue to increase a bit, and as we move forward to spring, the beginning of spring semester, we anticipate continuation of the positive step in enrollment as the semester nears. We do anticipate normal flattening of enrollments over the holiday period because people want to break. Anyway, so we are moving forward. And we do expect the enrollments to start to increase again after the first week of January. Some numbers for you right now. There are 6,891 seats filled in credit classes, and there are 214 seats filled in non-credit classes. And there's of that, so that's duplicated head count, and we have 2,757 unduplicated head students currently registered and enrolled as we speak this evening. I've received some questions over the last 3 weeks, months about enrollments by modality. And so here is some enrollments figures for the upcoming spring semester as of 12/13, so this is 2 days ago. For in-person on the main campus, so that was not included a class at American Canyon High School, so keep that in mind. So there's 1,084 students enrolled out of 4,267 seats available on campus. That represents 25%, 25.4%. Hybrid, there's 1,603 out of 3,522 seats that have been, that's 45.5%. And for our purposes this evening, a hybrid class is any class in which a class may meet in person multiple times, several times a semester, while the bulk of the course is done online. There are various ways to describe hybrid, but this is the most simple way to do it. And online asynchronous is 3,230 enrollments out of 6,143 possible seats. So 52, almost 53% of their enrollments are online asynchronous. And then there's online synchronous 715 out of a possible 1,627, representing 43.9%. And I give these numbers because we've been asked oftentimes that we need more in person, need more in person. And we strive, we want to have in person because many people need that, but we also have to balance. There's a tough balancing act in providing services to students and also having services for students on campus. So while it's simple to say we will have a class, doesn't always go, and that's the tough part as the semester gets close. So those are just numbers for you where we are, just for your reference.
Mark, can you say those percentages again?
Yeah. So right now, as of Tuesday, 25.4% of our enrollment was in person, so in person on the main campus. So that's sitting in a classroom, 1432, et cetera. 45.5% are in hybrid classes. So at some point during a hybrid class, the student will meet with the instructor in the classroom, and the rest is etc. Asynchronous is 52.6, and I think everybody know what asynchronous means. So that's, you never come to class. I mean, never come on campus unless you can use services, but it's all online. And there's no set time where you must be there. And then online synchronous is there are scheduled times. It could be the same as a biology class, but they will meet from 9 to 11 on Tuesday, but it'll be online via Zoom. So those are the definitions. Next point, and if there's any questions anytime, I would refer to Dr. Warnall because she can produce documents, the reports. No. So second point, there's instructional support equipment. Over the last month, and working with Jim Reeves, I've been working with program coordinators and deans and reviewing past unit plans, program reviews to assess unmet needs in instructional support equipment. Now instructional support equipment may be chairs in classrooms, it may be fuel hoods in the chemistry department, lots of different things that have direct impact on the instructional program. We met over the last month, and I'm going to align and prioritize needs, and we have prioritized approximately $1 million of unmet needs over the last several years to assist our instructional programs, and these are items that will directly affect student instruction. As I say that, I will refer you to Vice President Lee's report. He will have an outline in his financial packet in his report of all those items. Those items include hardware, include also technology issues that may currently in the process of being addressed via other avenues. So that list may fluctuate, but that's just a list that over the last 3 years we've developed unit plans and program reviews. So it's been vetted, it's been looked at by our faculty, our program coordinators, et cetera. And so what you see is $1 million of unmet needs. Recently, we've received some inquiries, and I think it's Trustee Baker who forwarded some information. The county library, that county library, has reached out about the potential for offering ESL classes at the library. So I was able to meet with the library folks, the director, as well as the literacy support folks, and we're working to put together the ESL at the county library. Basically, they provide the facility. We provide the outreach, and we provide an instructor. And so we're working on that. We anticipate 1 or 2 courses at the county library, primarily in the evenings in an upcoming semester.
Is there any effort to be doing ESL questions at the libraries in the North Valley or in American Canyon?
So we are always looking at that. There's a similar program that Dr. Guerrero and I work together in Santa Elena with the Santa Elena Up Valley Family Center, where we were able to get courses in an ESL up in Santa Elena for a group. The Family Center provided the facility and childcare. Childcare is often a barrier or a roadblock to those such courses. So the answer to your question, Trustee Kishinov, is yes. We're always open to doing those processes to support our community. One of the challenges is, though, we don't want to step on the toes of our community partners, such as adult school and the items like that. So while it seems on the surface we can just go in and do it, we do have partners and collaborations we work with. We want to make sure that we work collaboratively. And the library has reached out because apparently they lost some of their night or evening programming with the adult school. And so that they reached out because they want to do that. So the answer to your question is we're always open. We're happy to see our ESL program coordinator, Chris Howe. He's a go-getter, and he will do everything he can to get folks in those courses and work.
Thank you. I can tell you as somebody that lives outside of Napa proper that I love my library. The Napa library is the library that they always have the big function. You know, I mean, sometimes we have some great stuff in American Canyon.
Oh yeah,
it'd be great to bring ESL there as well.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, and we can reach out and see what we can do. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. So those are the program in ESL. And then finally, I'd like to give a special sort of shout out and thank you to Trustee Baker and Trustee Emeritus Baldini for attending the Associate Degree in Nursing pinning on Tuesday. Trustee Baldini did let me know that the pinning being at 3 p.m. in the afternoon is a challenge. The challenge on that too is that's when the students wanted it. So, and I think I can speak. I don't want to speak for you, Trustee Baker, but that was the largest turnout. It was Bob. What's the capacity of the pack?
We have 450 seats, and I would estimate about 400 of them filled with.
Right, and it was the first time I've heard the group say they were limited on tickets to give out. So anyway, it was a wonderful event, and what I found not only that there was that the program, I always my tears always well up because you hear the stories. But one of the things our faculty made a special note that they really thanked Trustee Baldini for attending. That's sort of an annual thing for him. And they said that it's just not going to be the same type of ceremony anymore without Trustee Baldini. So I relayed that to him, and then I'm sure he'll attend in the future. But with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. But that concludes my report.
I just wanted to say that we've been talking about honorary degrees, and I think Michael needs to get an honorary pin. So.
Okay, so good evening, board and new board members. Welcome, community welcome, colleagues welcome. Good to see everybody. And just wanted to just share some information with you tonight around. Really wanted to do a deeper dive on the counseling, specifically the counseling area and general counseling as to the students that they saw this semester and the impacts that they made across the community, and just kind of to lift some numbers up around this really important work. During the fall semester, there were in the general counseling area alone 3,562 appointments, one-on-one appointments with students. So I think very important, very relevant as we think about all that impact, all that individual support that was given to students during that time. And I break down there kind of what it looks like and how that service was offered. We still are in a virtual format. So we had telephone appointments, we had private one-on-one or virtual appointments, and then in the office as well. So the 3,562 appointments over the course of 4 months is a really busy schedule for a lot of people. So for us to be able to get in there, from the counselors to be able to serve them from staff, being able to schedule those appointments, to the outreach folks making those connections to our counseling departments, is to be commended. So want to lift that up and honor the work. You heard a couple of our colleagues today really talking about the important work of STEM, of early alert, starfish, and just how critical that all needs to work together seamlessly so that we can serve our students. And then we went down even deeper and broke down literally like how many minutes did we spend doing this work, right? And you'll see there how many minutes was provided. 239,959 minutes, and so the hours and kind of what that looks like. It's a lot of time, right? A lot of individual one-on-one support that I think is critical for student success. And then if we scroll down a little bit more, we provide some numbers there as well. And just in general, just kind of comparing what appointments look like kind of across time over the last few years. So we as compared to where we were in the spring semester with our appointments, you'll see that we're actually a little bit higher than we were in spring. As compared to last year, this time we are a little bit lower, but our enrollments were down a bit, so that we see that connection there. The goal is to obviously the enrollments, as our enrollments go up, our numbers will also increase. And you'll see that the busy time typically for the counseling area is going to be around the November time, at the beginning of the semester as well, but October, November, as students are getting prepared to transfer, graduate, and whatnot. So it's a busy time for our centers. You can scroll down. And I wanted to show you this one so you can see exactly what's happening in those counseling appointments. So you can see specifically the individual appointment that occurs, right? So 1,619 ed plans, right? That is literally roadmap for students. What classes they need to take, what semester, how does that work for them, and how do they plan that out? It's a lot of that planning that occurred throughout that period. Grad petitions, right? So it's really powerful for us to see that number, because these are the folks who are going to be graduating from Valley College just this semester alone, right? Our probation students and success skills in general could be just general tutoring, general support, academic skills, and building that overall is that number right there. And then transfer. So again, you can see just based off this data, the transfer is a big reason why students are coming into counselors, right? So really paying attention to that number and that that data around really supporting transfer needs for the college. And then personal. So personal could be for other reasons that students need to come in and see a counselor. And again, we will see the 629 there. Again, that total of 3,862 appointments. And then the next graphs I presented there is just kind of breaks it down, those numbers I just presented, but more specifically around the month that these occurred. So it just kind of breaks it down a little bit more, and then we can go ahead and scroll down some more. And then again, this is a team effort, right? So it's not just the counselors who are doing the work on the front lines or front office staff, those behind the scenes that sometimes don't get the shout out. But these are the folks who are answering the phone calls, who are responding to the voicemails, to the emails, who are on live chat with students, or who meet with them in person at the front counter, right? You see the impacts they made over the last 4 months. Hold on. And again, there's that data that right there as to the total services that were offered by our front office staff. And then we'll scroll down one more time. Okay, so the numbers I presented before were really based on the counseling. I wanted to talk to you as well around the student high school breakfast that we had in November and present some data for you there as well. So we had 50 colleagues from campus, or 50 colleagues from the community attend that activity. And thank you for our trustees who are new trustees who were at that event, attended events. And you can see there we had 19 schools attend that activity. It's 19 contacts, 19 connections that we made. 12 high schools, middle schools, law schools, private schools, and then four different organizations and agencies. And then if we scroll down a bit more, you'll see there, actually a little bit higher. Right there we go. The school districts that we touched through that activity is also listed there for you to see. And just in general, again, the commitment to making sure that our services that Napa Valley College is representing in the community is extremely high. Over the evening, I've been hearing conversations and questions around what are we doing at Valley, what are we doing at American Canyon. Those are critical for us. We are actively working with our partners to make sure we attend to all parts of our community, to all members of our community, our Spanish-speaking community members to those who are American Canyon or wherever they may be, that we are working collectively with our partners to serve. So with that, I also just want to wish everybody a very happy holiday, and thank you for putting up with me for the last 4 months. And it's been quite a pleasure to be here with all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, VP Guerrero. I posted the VP for Administrative Services report online. I can just call your attention to a very few items because I think I've covered most of them, and I believe the audit will be covered by the audit committee and Trustee Rios in just a moment. I would call your attention to our institutional technology. Our technology issue is a well-worn shoe. And I'd like to share with you kind of where we are and what we're doing. We anticipate making up to a $3 million investment in security issues, hardware and devices on desks in front of faculty and students in the very near term. We'll present at least the beginnings of that plan to our planning and budget committee tomorrow. We're also implementing a second source online. I'm using the wrong term. A second source online login process beginning in the spring term, so that will help increase our security. We have a go live date in our enterprise our enterprise software system on July 1st. I will also share with you that we're looking at the variety of ways that an institution our size can manage its IT security to improve reliability of enterprise systems and security. So we are not unlike other institutions across the state who are having difficulty finding and retaining IT professionals. So we're looking at alternative delivery methods, support methods to do that. So you should be hearing more about that in the new year. I can call your attention to student housing update. The student housing project itself is moving along quite nicely. If you drive by, I think Trustee Iverson does that often to see if everything's going okay. And I think he would even say it's doing okay. No big water leaks lately. Good. It's a retention pond, right? Yeah, good. The first big pour is a milestone of concrete for the foundations occurs on December 26th. So if you're available to come out and take a look, you're certainly welcome to do that. I will add that we're assembling an internal implementation team to ready the campus for the welcoming of up to just under 600 students in August of 2024. So we'll report further on that in the new year. And finally, I wanted to just reference the block funds from the states that VP Harris referenced earlier. I've added that at the back of my schedule there. It's in 2-point font. So if you want more information, just contact Bob Harris. It is, it's up to $1 million. You recall that the block grant this year was just over $6 million. And so we are devoting about $5 million or so to our schedule maintenance and schedule I provided you at I believe last month's meeting, and then $1 million to instructional equipment, which is, as I mentioned earlier, at this institution is a big investment, a long overdue investment. I will also add that we should not expect from the state these kinds of numbers into the future. So I think we'll put them to good use and use them wisely. So that would conclude my report. I turn it over to VP Halbrand.
Good evening and welcome, new trustees. Currently, we have two major recruitments going on. The first recruitment is our Assistant Superintendent, Vice President, Academic Affairs. That recruitment began in September and it is on track. We anticipate in bringing a recommendation to the board for hire at the February board meeting. An announcement will be going out shortly, sometime next week, regarding forums for this recruitment. We're anticipating the dates to be January the 23rd and 24th. Again, an announcement will be going out sometime next week. The other recruitment is our Assistant Superintendent, Vice President of Student Affairs, and we anticipate that this position will be posted and the recruitment beginning in mid-January. I will be bringing updates regarding both of those recruitments as we continually proceed. The district opened up regarding benefits, our open enrollment period. The open enrollment period has concluded, and I just want to thank the HR staff for managing 440 open enrollment transactions, which is really impressive when you realize the amount of work that goes into managing this amount for 522 staff. That is employed with the district. Our early retirement program, our SERP, the inquiry phase has started, and the deadline for applications for this this voluntary opportunity will be January the 27th, 2023. We will be bringing a recommendation to all of you at the February board meeting. I want to thank also the staff and human resources for their diligent work on a program that we revisited this semester, NVC Fridays. So almost every single Friday, we encourage not just our employees, but also students to come and meet us in different parts of the campus dressed in NVC gear. Think about the importance and the strength of branding Napa Valley College as we are all going on our lunch breaks wearing NVC gear and reminding our community we are here. Now, we've done this in the past with the goal of bringing community together, but this semester we were very strategic in going to different places on campus and opening the door to see what our colleagues are doing. And the last visit of the semester was the Makerspace. And I've heard nothing but fantastic things, Alex, about the Makerspace. And at our next board meeting, I will be bringing pictures to show the wonderful time that not only our employees, but also our students had. We will be continuing NVC Fridays in a very limited capacity in the spring, but next fall we'll again be bringing back in full force NVC Fridays. And we do hope that our colleagues around the college will open their doors and show us the wonderful work that they're doing. And that is my report. Happy holidays.
I just wanted to find out, are the forums going to be available to view online?
I will find that information out. That information will be available in the email that goes out.
I'll be brief and just offer my warm welcome to our newest trustees. Very happy to have you on board, Trustee Kishnev, Trustee Olson. Really looking forward to working with you and all of the wonderful things we'll continue to do here at the college under your leadership and collectively under the board's leadership. I'll keep my comments brief. As you can tell from the variety of information that we've shared tonight, it's an incredibly busy time for us. It has been an incredibly busy semester. I do want to extend my heartfelt thanks to members of the cabinet, to members of my constituent group leaders, all of you for your collective work, because we have, through the course of this semester, had many highs and many lows. But I think that we're ending on a very high note and a very hopeful note from the perspective of having a very clear vision in terms of what our strategies to continue to improve our services for our students will be, and some very strong direction in terms of what the spring semester is going to bring for us. So I'm very, very excited, very hopeful as we enter into this winter break. I want to extend my heartfelt, warm wishes to the collective NVC community, to members of the board, to my constituent group leaders, to the cabinet, to everyone watching out there in Zoomlandia. Have a safe and happy holiday season. Please eat a lot, get some rest, spend some time with loved ones and families. When January hits, we will be resuming this breakneck pace. So, please rest up because we have a busy semester ahead of us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. We'll move on to our committee and other appointment reports. We will forego DOS and Viticulture and Winery Foundation report and go straight to audit and finance.
So there was one other item at our meeting last week, and that was the audit and the progress on the yearly audit that is due December 31st. Mr. Reeves gave us an update. It looks like, so far as the financials are concerned, everything looks really good. There's no indication that there would be any negative findings in the audit. There is, however, one item that is slowing down the completion of the audit, which is the gathering of student completion data that has to be reported in the audit. That's due to the cyber attack that we suffered and are having difficulty pulling that data out of the system. It looks like it will be done by the deadline. Crossing our fingers that it will be done, but obviously it wasn't ready for the board to review and approve and send on at this meeting. So what Mr. Reeves had recommended that the audit be reviewed and accepted at the January meeting by the board. We were in favor of that, but also I think it was Trustee Dodd who volunteered all of us to come back during the break if the audit is completed so that we can approve it prior to the deadline and get it submitted instead of waiting until January. So that is what the committee is recommending to the board, is that we come back as soon as we hear that it's ready. Mr. Reeves will let everybody know and can set up a meeting to come back and approve that audit so it can be filed in time and meet our deadlines.
Perfect. Anything to add?
That was a very good report, Trustee Riosa. I would add that I did reach out to the chancellor's office, and they indicated that there are a few institutions, districts in the same position we are. They suggested that if we did not, were not able to complete it, we would submit a draft for compliance purposes and take the final to the budget to the board in January. I will offer some hopeful news. In our conversations with the auditor, they have accepted the information that we've been able to generate through Jessica's area and ENR. They have not suggested they can do this any sooner. So, but I would caution you that New Year's Eve is a quiet time. And if you don't mind penciling that in on your calendar, that might be a possibility, but I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you both for the nice summary there. I don't think real property has not met. I don't think anything to report on McPherson or Dr. Shank awards and foundation report.
Lots of good work. Busy year ahead. Our holiday party tomorrow. I'm not sure if everybody's going, but great to see everyone there.
What holiday party?
There's a foundation
Yes, I
foundation
invited.
holiday party. We'll forward you them. But
Neither was Trustee Baker, apparently.
okay. Well, thanks our foundation rep for that. Okay. We'll get you that information, Trustee Rios. And future agenda item requests. Sorry, Catherine.
Possible, did I forget to upload that? I think I forgot to upload that on the list where the solar panels requested by Trustee Baldini and land acknowledgement that we're still
Right, and that's still pending, right. Any other future agenda item requests from the board?
I just don't know if we've ever talked about helping or looking into providing transportation or talking to the Vine for students. I know that's a big thing in Santa Rosa. Anybody can ride the public transportation free if they're going to the college. So just wondering. Yeah.
Yes, we do actually have. We did have a meeting with the NVTA about three or 4 weeks ago or so. It's still a little preliminary, but we do have some information that we could share as early as the January board, although we may have more substantive information and a specific action plan later in the year, maybe as early as February.
You guys are on it. No surprises. Okay. Then we will go on to trustee board chair reports, and I will move to my left to trustee DeLuna. So I was trying to give you some time there.
Well, I don't have a lot to report. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of loss lately in my family, and sorry. Anyway, I just want to say happy holidays and just really hope that we take the time to thank each other for everything that we do. And I'm so grateful for this college community and everything that you do for the community. I'm grateful to my board members and this new group that we have here. And I'm very hopeful for what is yet to come. So I just thank you and happy holidays and happy new year.
Yeah. Sorry. No, it's fine. What we're doing, trustee. Well, this is. I wasn't going to throw a new trustee right away into report. I guess I thought that'd be a little bit unfair. But I will move to my right and to trustee Baker, and then trustee Rios will move to next.
Yeah. Did we meet on the 10th last month? We did, didn't we? Yeah. Okay. My brain's trying to figure that out. Not a whole lot, actually. I did go to the pinning, which was lovely, and I forget how many graduates there were. There were 3 rows, and so it was a full house. Yeah, fantastic. And one of them was my next door neighbor. I knew she was in school, but I didn't know she was graduating, so that was exciting. Nutcracker this weekend, not our event, but at our school. So I'll be going to that. And one thing I almost brought it up in future agenda, but I decided it wasn't really an agenda item, but just something to think on. I've been was very fortunate in my day job, working for the city of Benicia, that I was selected to participate in the National League of Cities REAL Institute, which is the Racial Equity and Leadership Program. And it's a cohort of 13 cities. And so there's this 30 or so of us that are participating in this. We're meeting 4 times throughout the year to talk about how to operationalize the DEI work that we're all doing and really integrate it into our systems and processes. And one of the things that we kind of did as homework, our cohort, was to talk about ways that we could do that with the city of Benicia. One of the things we came up as a suggestion that I thought might be worth looking at here is in our agendas that go to city council, when there's an item that the council is being requested to take action on, similar to how we have the fiscal impact. And we've been talking about doing a DEI impact, so that whenever there's something that we're taking action on, that it's something that at least is considered. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything we do would have an impact, but at least it's something that's always top of mind. So I just thought I would share that and see if it's something we wanted to incorporate here. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Rios.
I don't have much. I just comment. I did attend the newly tenured faculty lunch that I really enjoyed it. It was a very different, forum for meeting faculty. It's very different when you meet them here in this room. And at the lunch, I really enjoyed talking to them, learning about people swimming with sharks and, their travels and their families. It was a whole different, very, personal level, something that we don't get here. So I thought it was wonderful. I hope that we continue to do those kinds of things. I think it would strengthen our community and give us, another direct line to learn about how everybody else out there is doing. So just wanted to say how much I enjoyed that. So thank you for putting that together for us.
Yeah, your idea. And we will go to Trustee Kishinev.
I was pleased to attend the high school breakfast here at the college and learned about the Moja program and the Puente program, and I cannot recall the Tagalog name.
Say San.
There you are. And that's about it for me. I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
Okay, I just wanted to give a quick thank you to Dr. Torrance Powell and Catherine and Cabinet for welcoming Jason and I and spending 2 afternoons with us over the past couple of weeks. Also, Trustee Dodd and Trustee Iverson for spending your time with us. And it was a very thorough orientation. I really appreciate your time. It did not seem like you were annoyed having to take your time out to train us and to go over all the, dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And I just really appreciate your time and attention, and your very warm welcome to all of the trustees for our new spot here. I'm really looking forward to being part of this community. Thank you.
Trustee Iverson.
I just want to welcome our new trustees and thank everybody on campus for rolling up their sleeves, and a lot of transitions and ups and downs, and appreciate all of you. So thank you, and wishing you the best for the holidays.
I want to welcome our new trustees too. As I mentioned, I think new blood is a very good thing. Different perspectives, diversity on the board, good questions. That's and you guys have really come in with a lot of energy and focus. So I really appreciate that. You're not just here to sit in the chair, and that's we're all going to benefit from that. Lastly, on a personal note, celebrating one of my mentors retirement parties tonight, which unfortunately I have to miss. Her name's Pam Duffy, and she is just the most amazing person, retiring after I think 55 years in a law practice. First woman to be a named partner in a major law firm in California, of Cobblins, Patch, Duffy, and Bass. And she's definitely not listening. I hope she's not listening to this. She is having a glass of wine or something, but I just wanted to give her a shout out and let you guys know this person has really made a difference. We all have an opportunity to have different mentors in different stages of our life, and she's kind of instilled with me how important it is to be a mentor to other people. And so nice to reflect on that, and also ways that we can help mentor and provide the same level of support to other people that we've received along the way. So we will go to our board meeting calendar with a small little tweak. We are moving our meetings from the second Thursday of the month to the third Thursday of the month.
I saw it in writing that it was the second. I found that very confusing. Now I understand.
Does that kill you, Trustee Baker? Sorry to put it that okay.
This is bad.
Okay, well, good. I think that was also discussed too. So it's not on a Tuesday. Any other comments or?
I just wanted to make
questions
sure that we don't have any meetings on spring break. This year we did. This past year it was spring break week.
Isn't spring break is the last week of March? First week of April?
Okay.
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 So we're good. We're good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we do actually need to approve this. Catherine, any public comment on this item? I have not
No.
received any, and seeing none in the crowd.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Luna, for your motion, and I would take a second.
Second.
For Trustee Rios, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a calendar for next year. Thank you. We'll go to 15.2, nomination election of board officer. Dr. Powell, take the lead, please.
All right. Thank you, President Dodd. We'll now move to agenda item 15.2, nomination and election of board officers. Education Code 72000, as well as Board Policy 2210, require that the board elect its officers at its annual organizational meeting in December. The district has two board officer positions. The first is president or chair, and the second is vice president, both of whom take office as of January 1st, 2023. Before making nominations, there is an opportunity for public comment on the election of officers. After that, trustees may ask questions or make comments. After that, there will be nominations for the office of president, followed by voting. Once a president is elected, vice president nominations and voting will follow that. State law and board policy allow any member to nominate a trustee for president with or without providing reasons for making the nomination. Any trustee may nominate oneself, and any trustee, including the student trustee, may second a nomination. When there are no more nominations that are seconded, there will be a motion to close nominations. Votes will be cast in the same sequence as nominated. The first nominee to receive a majority of votes will be elected to the position of president. If no person receives a majority upon the first ballot, then the person with the least votes is eliminated, and votes will be taken on the remaining nominees until one receives a majority of the votes. If there is only one nominee, then that person is declared the president and no vote will be taken. Once a president is elected, the same process is used to elect the vice president. That was a lot of information. I promise you this should go fairly smoothly. Are there any questions or comments, actions regarding this process?
I think I just wanted to ask if we would consider moving the vote to January, just because we have our two new board members. And I mean, you guys went through orientation. I didn't get an orientation when I first started. So just it being your first meeting, but I'm totally open to whatever. I know we did last year, or the first year I was on the board, actually. We moved it to January. But I know that one of the years it was to January because of that too, but I'm not sure if that's a consideration or not. I'm just putting it out there.
Yes, here.
I don't know that there is anything prohibiting an extension of the current board chair, but I'm assuming this is something, since a question has been posed, that members of the board would want to weigh in on that. Should we
Yeah, I think
proceed?
we'll go through it, just a process of just a deliberative process. And so is there any comments on that? And if there's any interest in pursuing that option, then it should be done by motion.
I don't have any interest in that. I don't think it makes much difference at this point. And I don't know of anything. I don't recall. I guess we've done it before, but I don't recall that. I would question the state elections law that says that officers take their office today. How that would affect it. Those are my comments.
I can see Trustee DeLuna's point. I don't know that I'm equipped to speak to it though. So if either of the new trustees have a thought on it, or if it's concerning to you at all.
I don't really have any concerns. I don't think it's going to change anything for me either way, but I will defer to Trustee Olson. If she has any concerns, I will totally support whatever she has to say.
I'm just wondering if Trustee DeLuna, you're maybe wanting to nominate me, so you're thinking maybe I need another month under my belt first. I really have no opinion either way. I'm fine moving forward, but I can also thank you for the thoughtfulness of giving us a little time to settle in first.
I don't recall ever changing it, and I hear you, but I would probably just move forward with it tonight.
Are you okay with that, with
Yeah.
everything you've heard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all. Then with that, we will move to the public and board comment section. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on the election of board officers? Public. Thank you. Are there any members of the Board of Trustees who would like to offer general comments before nominations? Okay. We are moving to nominations for the office of the president. Nominations are now open to trustees for the office of president. Who wishes to be recognized to make a nomination for the office of president?
I will make a nomination. I would nominate Trustee Dodd for president. And just some comments on that. I think we've been in a few years here of transition and some difficult times on all kinds of issues, COVID and coming out of COVID, and our financial status and our accreditation and all of those things. And I think that it's very important to try to maintain the continuity, the momentum that I think we've picked up over the last year. And I think that Trustee Dodd has done a very good job leading the board in all of those areas.
Who wishes to second the nomination?
I will second that. And I would echo also what Trustee Rios said about just continuity. I know this was brought up last year when I was asked to do another year, and it just was not going to work out for me. So I'm glad I didn't win that one. But definitely agree that we've had so much change in the last year. And we're now actually just in the last few months really moving forward, and it feels good. And so, and we could give Trustee Dodd another year to figure out what to do with this thing, because he asked me and I didn't know because I never got to play with it. So
thank you. Do you, Trustee Dodd, have any comments you would like to make regarding your nomination?
I'm very honored, Trustee Rios and Trustee Baker. I especially, I think, is long-standing members of the board. I know it's, I think, quite unique, and to have a a trustee serve 2 years in a row. I don't know if it's ever happened before. But I appreciate also the unique circumstances of it and really appreciate your support and all the support that we've all received over the past year. Certainly takes a team, and I would accept the nomination as well.
Trustee Dodd is nominated to be board president. Who wishes to be recognized to make another nomination?
In the interest of having a second choice and seeing that Trustee Baker doesn't appear to be interested in it, I will nominate Trustee Iverson.
I appreciate that, but I will decline that. I think Trustee Dodd, you've done a great job in steering us through a tough time. So continuing the course. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Kishniff, and welcome again.
All right. Well, I won't ask for a second on that since you so graciously declined. Are there any other further nominations? Seeing no further nominations for the office of president, is there a motion to close nominations?
Move to close the nominations.
I'll second.
All right. Trustee Dodd is the only trustee nominated for the office of president and is elected board president for 2023. Thank you.
We clap.
We are now moving to nominations for the office of vice president. Nominations are now open to the trustees for the office of vice president. Who wishes to be recognized to make a nomination for the office of vice president?
I will. Third time's a charm, right? I will nominate Trustee DeLuna.
Luna? Who wishes to second that nomination?
I will second that.
Trustee DeLuna, do you have any comments you would like to make regarding your nomination?
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Trustee DeLuna is nominated to be vice president. Who wishes to be recognized to make another nomination?
I would nominate Trustee Rios.
Trustee Rios has been nominated for the office of vice president. Who wishes to second that nomination?
I'll second that nomination.
Thank you. Roll back in my script. We go to the next question. Okay. Trustee Rios, do you have any comments you would like to make regarding your nomination?
No, thank you. I'll accept the nomination.
Good. The board will now proceed to vote on the candidates for the office of vice president. The election will be made by raising hands. A raised hand is a vote for a candidate. The first candidate who receives a majority vote will be elected vice president. Candidates will be voted on in the order they were nominated. The following members were nominated for the office of vice president. That would be Trustee DeLuna and Trustee Rios. So all in favor of Trustee DeLuna, please raise your hand at this time. Four votes. All in favor of Trustee Rios, please raise your hand. 3 votes. Okay. Majority wins. The board officers for 2023 are Trustee Dodd as president and Trustee DeLuna as vice president. Congratulations. And that closes our selections.
Okay. Beautiful thing. Here we go. Announcement of future meetings. This one is unique. We're meeting on January 17th, which was noted in the calendar, but that's not the third Thursday. It's a Tuesday, right? Okay, so that's the one stand out in the calendar. So we'll see you January 17th next year. And if there's nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:05 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.